So without further ado, let me, pass the microphone, the podium to Janelle. Thank you.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Henry, thank you for that very lovely introduction. I am happy to have you all here spending this evening with us, learning a little bit more about our business program. What I'm first going to start off with is the finance course, as well as the Wharton investment competition, like Henry said, and then I will be passing the mic on to Isabella after that. So, getting right to it, why finance? Why teach it here at Linked Key? Finance, we know, is very important, right? We are all going to be interacting with money in our lifetime. And so it is very interesting that it is not one of the most, or not one of the subjects that is taught in school. Instead, what we kind of resort to is trial and error, as we have young kids who leave the parents' nest, right, under their protection, going out into the real world and learning, usually pretty hard, that there are certain financial missteps that can have a very significant impact on one's finances and how one builds their wealth. So here we make it a point to teach these students ahead of time, before they go out, before they are an adult, what the important concepts and tools and techniques are, so that when they are out there, they know what to look out for, or they can at least understand what is going on around them, what the market trends mean, and then making informed decisions after that. So, like we know, I believe it's Albert Einstein who says that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit later on when we get into investing. But the earlier that kids know and kids truly understand finance and how to manage money and how to plan for the future, the more successful they'll be in the long run. So one of the ways that we came up with to create this kind of environment that's very interesting and simulates what they can expect in the real world is through them earning money, or Satoshis. So that's the breakdown of Bitcoin, the smallest unit. And so basically what we show is that you earn money when you put in the work. So that is you showing up to class, that is you completing the work or doing what is asked of you, required of you, and that is how you will get paid. But taking it a step further, and particularly focusing on what investing is like, we also show that the confidence you put into how convicted you are in your answers will also make a difference. And what I mean by that is, when you do your work, when you do your research, and you, especially in investing, you understand what is going on around you, how maybe like how central banks and their activity, their mandates might affect what you do with your investing, or what you do in your investments. Now you're able to figure out which companies you want to invest in, or what sector you think might do well in the future. Because unfortunately, when you do not do the research, you will get burned, right? And so we kind of want to simulate that you have to do the work to really ensure that you are in a good position moving forward. So this is the incentivized system that we have for the finance program. In terms of the program objectives,
So sorry, Janine,
go ahead.
for the interruption. Just wanna quickly, uh, give a bit, a quick, information about Satoshi for those of you who do
Oh,
not
yes.
know what Satoshi is. So basically, Satoshi is a smaller unit of Bitcoin, right? So I think everybody knows Bitcoin. It's just like a dollar versus cents, right? So 100 cents equals to $1. I believe the 1 million Satoshi equals to 1 Bitcoin. Am I right? Or 10 million? Yeah. It's just a smaller unit of Bitcoin.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for that clarification. Yes. So they are getting paid in cryptocurrency in the form of Bitcoin, but the smaller unit, the Satoshis. So, in terms of the program objectives, we really want to focus on financial literacy, right? So, preparing the students from now so that they don't have to spend time learning when they could actually be applying the knowledge that they know. What I mean by this is, for example, in my case, like my parents did the best that they could to teach me teach me about finance, but at the same time, they're not teachers, right? So there were things that I learned when I was finally out there, like with my own credit card, or, like learning about investments in the investing world, what the stock market is, various things like that. And where I did start young, like they definitely instilled that in me. Had I known this information in my teens, when I was still, under my parents' like household and still under their protection financially in that sense, then I would have been off to the races much sooner. So we really want to stress that with this course. And we also get into budgeting and investing, as well as learning a little bit about crypto, since they are also getting paid in this. So we want to inform them about what it truly is. So going a little bit deeper into each of these concepts. So some of the things that we talk about, not limited to this though, are things like credit ratings. Like, what is a credit score? Why is that important? Some of the students that we've taught in the past, when we say this concept, they are unaware of what that means, which excites me because I know that when they leave this course, they are going to be that much more informed because their parents, help them out by putting them in a class like this. We go into things like debt. Oftentimes, when kids hear about debt, they think, oh no, debt is definitely a bad thing. And the reality is that it doesn't necessarily have to be that way, right? There is good debt, there is bad debt. So teaching them how to differentiate it from one from the other, so that they don't feel bad if something happens where now they owe money to the bank or something like that. Inflation, especially with the pandemic, we've seen how inflation has wreaked havoc on the economy. So we go deep into concepts like supply and demand, and understanding how supply shocks can really impact the economy and the market. And then with things like productivity growth, as children, we tend to see things and want things as soon as possible. So if we can spend some Robux on, on like a new player or like a gadget, excellent. But the reality is that in the real world, there will be times where you actually need to look forward, right? Look decades into advance and be able to figure out what you need to do now to help your future self out. And where kids are nice and buoyant and, can fall and potentially hurt themselves, but get back up and, like work very hard in their prime, make that money and maybe spend it, they have to be a lot more mindful when they are in their 70s and their 80s and they are retired. So they're not making that consistent income that they were seeing on a regular basis. And, they really need to take care of themselves. And they're now gray, and a little bit older. They're a little bit more wrinkly now. So how can they delay that gratification and see that there is actually a point to keeping some of that money now and investing it for the future versus just spending it right away? Because right now they can easily say, oh, I'll just borrow some money from my parents, right? They'll figure it out, or I'll just use my mom's credit card and all will be well. Well, they won't always have you there protecting them. So we want to make sure that they have everything that they need, as well as much as we possibly can provide them with, so that they're good in the future. In terms of budgeting, we split this class into tiers. So we have the junior level and we also have the senior level. So where all grades learn financial literacy, learn budgeting, learn investing concepts, we split the main activities and assignments into the different tiers. So for the junior level, that's grade 5 to grade 8, we focus on budgeting. So they're typically pretty young at this point, so they haven't really gotten a job yet, haven't really needed to practice saving money for a later date. So we help them learn about how to manage their money and how to be disciplined in that sense. So remember, delaying gratification and helping out future self and looking to the end, right? Beginning with the end in mind. What is the goal that I have? What is the intention I have for this money? I know I'm not just gonna keep it in my bank account. It's obviously a means to an end, but what do I need to do in order to achieve that goal? Because we know that the moment you just start spending without that plan, well, you might not achieve what it is that you need to achieve or what you want. So for the junior level, we focus on budgeting. For the junior level, we focus on budgeting. For the senior level, we go into investing. So this is where the senior students are learning to create portfolios. Through this, they're learning about risk assessment, right? So how to manage your risk tolerance. Usually when you're younger, that means that you can afford to take a little bit more risk, but that might change depending on circumstance, depending on the goals that you have in mind. And over time, that will also change. So we kind of go through this and see how, fixed income assets will fare differently than equities, for example, or crypto, because of the intense fluctuations we tend to see with those assets. So we get into that. We also really enforce research. So this is you understanding what you are investing for, because again, the goal will obviously affect what you do, but understanding what the market is doing, why it is doing what it is doing, and understanding that, of course, to the best of your ability. There is always that section that is unknown to us because we only know so much. But these are the kinds of things like knowing the intrinsic value of a business to be able to make a strong and informed decision to say, I believe that this business will survive and, be thriving 20 years from now, so I'm going to invest in it, right? These are the kinds of things we walk through with them, fundamental analysis, right? And then, of course, looking at your time horizon, because that also makes a difference. In addition to that, we go into diversification, right? We all know we can't put our eggs in one basket. So we teach the kids the importance of diversifying. So by the end of the semester, they have a portfolio that goes through different sectors, different industries with a clear rationale for why they chose what they did and why they allocated a certain amount of their portfolio in that particular sector or company. Also, you know, just given what we've seen this week alone in tech, this is really important because we saw Google skyrocket, right? Splitting shares 20 for 1. We also saw Facebook tank. So especially when investing, the more of an objective approach you can take, the better. And that usually comes from understanding why you have chosen to invest in what you're investing in. And I also say this because there are a lot of folks in my generation who are completely deterred from investing because all they hear in the news is how things are going amazingly well, or how things are absolutely tanking and people are losing all of their life savings. And so we know that the news is trying to get eyeballs on their articles. And so if you're just watching that, it's really hard to make a sound assessment as to what is truly going on. So when you're able to keep that level head before making those impulsive decisions, you're in really good shape, right? And so we get these kids learning this from now so that when they actually experience it, they feel like they have had some experience already. And then going into crypto. So crypto, again, we are always seeing like steep fluctuations. And so the more you understand it, the better you will feel when you are investing, right? Because again, you've done your research, you are educated, and you feel confident that things will eventually stabilize or will continue to uptick over time. Even when you see price volatility, you know all of this. So again, these are the concepts that we introduce the students to so that they feel fairly comfortable when they say, hear about it in the news and various things like that. So this is the breakdown of what I just explained. So again, overall, they're all learning about financial literacy. And then the main assignments for the junior level goes into personal budgeting. And then the senior level, it is personal budgeting as well as, but with the focus on investment portfolios. So this is all important for the Wharton competition, as this course is a prerequisite for joining our teams. What is the Wharton competition, you might ask? It is a free international 3-month competition where high school teams come together and act as fund managers who are responsible for a client's portfolio. And in the past, the amount has been $100,000, not real money, but rather paper trading. So the objective is to create a portfolio that best supports the client's values. And what I really like about this competition is that it's not just based on growth and how much you've been able to earn, because obviously 3 months is a very short time frame to really see the results. But the main point that they're trying to stress is that strategy is very important, and being able to explain why you have chosen a particular investment is incredibly valuable. So they go through the client, and sometimes it is a make-believe client, sometimes it is an actual person that they use for these, where they go through the client's interests and understanding, where the client is coming from, what's the client's time horizon, and where do they really see the future headed. And then from there, the high school teams come up with a strategy, invest in companies, explain why they've invested a certain amount, so portfolio allocation, and doing their best to present an argument to the potential client. Okay. So qualification for this, 2 ways you can get in: through our linked key teams, enrolling in the spring finance course, or testing in. And usually the testing will grade how much finance knowledge you already know, because there's a certain level we expect for you to know before you join these teams, because there is a lot of high level knowledge that we teach you so that you can really get the most out of it. And so what these teams did throughout the fall was trade, and they learned like order types, and they learned how to do a fundamental analysis on companies, learn how to do SWOT analyses on companies. So that's strengths, what are the weaknesses, what are the opportunities, the threats that might be posed to these companies. And then from there, clearly articulating a rationale for why they should invest into that company. And so it is really good for, of course, real world experience, right? Being able to learn this without losing actual money. So you're in a safe environment this way. It really helps to put this on a university application, showing that you were a part of this really rigorous competition and how well you are able to work in a team. And there was a large writing component to it as well, which was also very helpful for the students, as in university or post-secondary education, a lot of the work that you're going to be doing is based on how well you can, one, verbally, but also in a written manner, articulate your thoughts clearly. The prizes were things like free enrollment in the Wharton summer course, and Wharton Business School is a part of the University of Pennsylvania. So it went, so the idea is that with that course, you get even more education into investing and the way that Wharton teaches. So before I pass it on to Isabella, this is just a quick breakdown of the department roadmap. So there are a couple options here. And as you can see, various things or various courses will lead to certain competitions. So with finance, what I discussed, once you take this course, you are eligible to join, or this is one of the ways that you are eligible to join our Wharton High School Investment Competition. Okay, Isabella, it is now your turn.
All right, thank you so much. Problems with going second. I don't know if I can top that. Before I start, I want to emphasize how our courses are different and they're very complementary. I would say if you're less interested in like the quantitative finance side, Deca and Diamond Challenge might be the option for you. I'm like not a numbers or STEM person and I love what I do. So today I'm going to dive into first talking about Deca and then talking about Diamond Challenge, and there'll be time for questions at the end. So next slide, please. I think the order got messed up. Can you switch again? Okay, so this is not the updated version. Great, thank you. All right, so first I'm going to begin with explaining what Deca is. So I would say it is likely that a lot of the audience already knows what Deca is because it has a very large presence in all Ontario high schools. So forgive me if this is a little bit repetitive. Some of us on the call might not know what Deca is. So Deca essentially is a business club, and there's a competition aspect to it. So I specifically teach the oral case study side. So Deca has, you can write business reports that are like 20 pages. In this class, we don't deal with that. Instead, we deal with the oral side of Deca. So what that means is you are either in an individual event or a team event, and you have to essentially present a 15-minute case study or 30-minute case study. You would go to the room of that competition and get that case study in that moment and then have some preparation time. So for an individual event, you would have 15 minutes to prepare and a 10-minute presentation. In a team event, you would have 30 minutes to prepare and have a 15-minute presentation. So it's a lot of speaking on the spot and that rapid problem solving. So that's one component of Deca. The second component is the written exam, which is 100 multiple choice questions. Within Deca, there are a whole range of events. So there's like marketing events, there are hospitality events, there's like business law and ethics. So at Linkkey, we really try to give you a taste of the breadth of these events. And I'll be pulling on case studies from each of those categories to really get you exposure to that breadth of categories. So that is a little bit about Deca. So in the class, I would obviously be teaching you all this knowledge, but we would also be preparing you for those competitions. Could you switch back, actually? Yes. So there are 3 levels of competition for Deca. So you are welcome to join, and it's highly encouraged that you join, even if you have no intent of competing. So my Deca classes really go over all this knowledge and all this, case study preparation. It's helpful even if you don't want to compete in Deca, but individuals often want to compete. So I want to give a brief overview of what the competition would look like. So Deca happens over the school year. So there's first regionals, which is just in like your own region. So that would be the Halton region for us, which then if you qualify for the next level, you would move to provincials, and then lastly, internationals. So obviously my goal is to get you to internationals, but that's just sort of the structure. So, around early October, November is when regionals is, provincials is in February, and then internationals is in April and May. So just if you, want to figure out when is most strategic for you to enroll in Deca, that timeline is just really good to keep in mind. Could we go to the slide that says why Deca? So I think it's previous 2 slides. Okay, cool. So now that I've explained what Deca is, hopefully that doesn't scare you guys off. I want to explain why you should consider joining Deca. So just a little bit, I guess, about my background, which I will go into a bit more later. But I'm not a business student, and I never really thought I was interested in business, and still to this day would not say that business is like, my passion. But I still loved Deca anyways. So here's why. So the first thing is it really teaches you how to speak on the spot. As I said, you only have 15 minutes to prepare for a 10-minute presentation, right? So there's no way you're writing a script. You're really practicing that impromptu speaking, and just that's like a life skill that I find myself using in every single capacity, including this presentation, right? Like I don't have a script in front of me. I don't have any notes, and I'm just talking. So I think I really credit Deca and my involvement in that in high school for giving me these skills. Secondly, Deca has a huge presence in high schools. So it's something, especially in Ontario, like a lot of high schools participate in. Just to give you an example, I was at White Oaks. So that was my high school. And there were over 400 members in the Deca Club at my school. So I guess just for that alone, just for being part of something bigger, it's really fun and a really popular club to join. That's another reason why you should maybe consider, joining Deca and shaping your high school experience around this club. I was in Deca for all 4 years of my high school and really gave me a lot of great memories. Thirdly, I think Deca is a way to bring that creativity into business. This is something I didn't know at the start, but it's not just going to be, me teaching you these vague business concepts and we're just going to end there. Deca really takes it to the next step because there's that case study, right? So you have that time to figure out a solution to this problem. And you obviously want to pull in these business concepts, but there's a lot of creativity involved, right? Let's say you're branding, you're trying to come up with a marketing plan for this business. You're trying to come up with a slogan. You're trying to come up with the new ads. There's that creative aspect that I think is really missing from a lot of just general business courses in high school. So Deca is a great way to inject that creativity into business concepts. And then lastly, once again, I feel like I just have a gripe with the way business was taught to me in high school. Was not very interesting at all, but applying these business concepts in case studies was a way for me to actually solidify my understanding about those business concepts and just made it much more meaningful and much more interesting. And especially since I had to do it under a time limit, I think I really, really learned a lot from Deca. So I guess here are the reasons I think you should consider Deca. Obviously, if you're interested in business, but even if you don't necessarily want to study business or, have a career in business, these are all the reasons why I would still, join Deca if I went back in high school and knew that I would never end up, studying business in university. Here are some reasons sort of why I'm pitching to you guys. You guys should join my class. All right, next slide. Great. So Henry mentioned this, so I guess I'm going to talk a little bit about why I might be qualified to teach you guys and why I'm not just like completely lying to you guys. So I was the president of White Oaks Deca. So as I mentioned, the biggest Deca club in Ontario. I was going to say one of the biggest, but I'm pretty sure it's the biggest. So over 400 members. And then I competed in Deca for all 4 years of my high school. And then in grade 11, my partner and I, so this was my co-president, I was in a team event. I was in entrepreneurship team decision making. So we got 3rd place internationally. So that was really fun and exciting. And also it's not just, Deca concepts that I bring in. I also worked at CIBC and now work at Deloitte. So I'm able to sort of give you guys that real life perspective of what do these business concepts actually mean in a company. So that's something I'm continuing to explore and something that I definitely bring into my classes. I'm not a business student. I actually study political science at the University of Toronto. Still a student and still 2 more years of school, unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess. But I also, bring in that different perspective. I don't think you necessarily need to study business. I still love doing Deca and I'm still able to apply this knowledge and just find it interesting, even though I'm not in your traditional business school. All right, moving on. Next slide. I'm going to briefly talk through what level of Deca you should maybe consider. So I teach Deca Level 1, Deca Level 2, and Deca Level 3, which isn't going to be offered this semester, but will be offered in the future. So I want to give a brief overview of sort of which level you might want to consider joining, because I get a lot of questions about this, so trying to preempt some of those questions. So Deca Level 1 is really for people who are just trying to get some exposure to what Deca is, and maybe are not the most comfortable with public speaking. That is if you fit that criteria, I would say you should consider joining Deca Level 1. The concepts are much more basic, and I really ease students into that public speaking aspect because, in my classes, we don't just learn about these business concepts, we also try to apply them. So that means all students will actually need to participate and speak up. I would say Deca Level 2 is for students that already know what Deca is and perhaps have taken a business course in high school, and they're looking to be more competitive. So in Deca Level 2, I teach them more advanced concepts, and also I have higher expectations for that case study, right? So I would expect you to be able to speak for longer, to be able to incorporate more nuanced business concepts and all that great stuff. So I think that would be the separation. I have a lot of students that enroll in Deca Level 1 and then take Deca Level 2 and then Deca Level 3. So if you're unsure, that is the approach I would recommend. Since I teach all the classes, I promise there's no repeat content and all of it, builds on one another. So I would highly recommend, moving through it sequentially. But as always, like if there are any questions, you can definitely reach out after, and I'd be happy to work with everyone to figure out what level would be best for them. Next slide. All right. Yeah, so a slide got missed, but no worries. I'm just gonna quickly talk about one more thing about my DECA classes. I want to break down sort of what it would actually look like to attend my classes. So I understand how sometimes business classes might be boring. So I make a lot of effort to make my classes interesting. So no class is the same. There's a combination of a couple of things. So one, teaching you guys those relevant business concepts. A way I make this more engaging is that usually these concepts will be directly applicable to the case study that we're going to do in the latter half of class, right? So I'll teach you a concept and then you guys will do a case study that uses that concept. So that way you guys get to actually apply what you just learned. Secondly, I incorporate a lot of videos. There's some awesome examples out there of really interesting companies, and they demonstrate the concepts in a way a lot better than any textbook could. So I really try to teach a lot of, the content around these really, really interesting businesses and all the innovative strategies they're implementing. And then lastly, I have access to a lot of recordings of DECA case studies. So this is not publicly accessible. It's a lot of through my own relationships, through my connections with White Oaks and clubs, and just overall people I know who have done well at ICDC. I have great recordings of very successful case studies that have won awards internationally. So I also show those during class and we critique those. So if that sounds interesting to you at all, definitely consider joining DECA. Okay, now let's move on to the Diamond Challenge. All right, so the Diamond Challenge is different from DECA in quite a significant way. So these are not, they're not the same at all. I would recommend doing both and not just hoping one will substitute the other. So the Diamond Challenge is an entrepreneurship competition for high school students. And it's a lot more hands-on and real work, if that makes sense, because DECA, in contrast, is a case study, right? It's more simulated and you have that short amount of time and you have to do an impromptu case study. At the Diamond Challenge, they really want to encourage high school students, forgetting the constraints of being not an adult and just a student and genuinely trying to build something or imagine what it'd be like to build something real. So there are teams of 2 to 4 people and they essentially submit their idea for an actual business. I would say Diamond Challenge students are in 2 categories. So one, people who already have a company or already have an idea and are working towards it, they enroll in Diamond Challenge to try to get funding. And secondly, there's a category of students who are just interested in entrepreneurship and want that push to, actually take action and truly try to imagine what this would genuinely look like. So if you fall into any of those categories, highly encourage considering Diamond Challenge. So we don't actually have Diamond Challenge offered in the next semester. We just wanted to put this on your radar because it will be incoming. I don't know when. touch base with Henry for that. But we will have Diamond Challenge, lining up. So what you would need to do is you need to essentially submit a concept narrative, which is just a fancy word for a business plan, and then also a slide deck pitching your idea. So if you are interested or have an idea for a company that you would want to build for yourself, or at least imagine how it would be built, then the Diamond Challenge is for you. So similarly to Deca, there are stages and you would move through earlier rounds to later rounds. Next slide. So here is what I guess is in it for you. If you need that extra incentive to join Diamond Challenge, if I haven't sold you on it already, there are a lot of prizes. So the scope of Diamond Challenge is really incredible. So it's a global entrepreneurship competition, and they're like teams competing from all around the world. So it's really, really a big thing, especially in the States. And there's a lot of funding for it, a lot of insane sponsors for it. So there's the possibility of getting that funding to actually implement your idea or enhance the idea that you've already implemented. But what is guaranteed is, you going through that process, learning how to write a business plan, learning, what would it actually be like if to be an entrepreneur, and actually experiencing that. And also you are guaranteed to get feedback on both your concept narrative and your slide deck from really incredible, qualified judges. So that's, I guess, what's in it for you at the end. If you do, compete in Diamond Challenge, we submit it, do all that great stuff. There's a lot waiting for you. All right, I think that about concludes my presentation. There is Deca I teach, and then also Diamond Challenge. Deca, there are 2 levels for the next semester. You should enroll in that now if you want to be in any of my classes, and Diamond Challenge is up and coming.
Yeah, so Henry, if you want me to go back to any particular slide for you to translate.
No, I'm okay. I think you can just leave it there. Yeah, I can just do a quick recap.
Okay.
So yes, Mandarin Chinese. 这样哈，我用中文很快速的把刚才Janelle 和 Isabella 讲的内容，我不会重复了，因为我相信大家基本上都理解他们刚才讲的内容。其实我主要想用中文在这个稍微多说1、2句我自己的一些体验或者感受，就是金融课，我们叫 finance， 或者说叫投资课啊，那包括像 Deca， 就是说我们整体的这个商科类的课程哈。Oh, actually, Janelle, can you go back to the roadmap, the slide for the roadmap? So that'll be yeah, perfect. So OK， 那这个其实可以给大家一个很快速的一个了解，就是我们的商科类的课程呢，现在一共有4门。那刚才 Isabella 讲的是Deca 和 Diamond Challenge。我们春季课程。Diamond Challenge 我们可能会放到秋季开，因为它的比赛是在1月份，是在年初哈。Finance 和 Investment 刚才 Janelle 讲的，是我们的春季课程。然后呢 ，Wharton 的 Competition 就沃顿商学院的投资竞赛是在年底啊。所以就是说春季班实际上是为了学生能够加入我们的这个沃顿的竞赛队的一个赛前的一个培训了。那第4个课呢，就是 cryptocurrency， 就是我们的数字货币。等一下我会讲啊，所以基本上我们的整个的商科是这4门课。我想说2个事情，一个事情呢，就是我不知道大家有没有这种体验或者经验。我自己其实有很多很记忆犹新的一些体验。像我记得我年轻的时候，大概20几岁，20就是大学毕业之后几年的时间，那个时候北京的房价大概是2000到3000块钱一平尺，但那个时候我们完全没有任何的概念，对投资就几乎没有概念啊。当然现在大家知道北京的房价可能是几万啊，甚至最贵的地方应该能到了10万。多伦多也是一样，我刚来多伦多的时候的房价大概 这个不是按尺价算了，反正至少我觉得现在是200%到300%的这种增长了，跟20年前比，因为我来了有20年，那就是我们从小没有受过这样的这种训练，没有接受过这样的一个知识结构关于刚才 Janine 讲的 money 什么是钱，什么是货币，什么是 credit， 什么是 inflation， 什么是 saving， 什么是 budget， 就是我怎么去管理我自己的钱，我怎么去管理我的财富，我怎么最重要的是增长我的财富。刚刚他讲了一段，其实我觉得非常，就大家都知道，但是呢，我们经常会忘记。就是爱因斯坦讲过一句话，说复利是人类的第8大奇迹，就 compound rate。这个我不用给大家说 number， 我相信所有人都知道，就是如果你持续的做这种复利型的投资的话，假如说每年我们随便拿个计算器摁一下，假如说每年20%或者10%好了。10%，如果你把它放在里面，我现在随便拿计算器摁一下这个2年、3年、4年、5年、6年、7年，7年就是1倍，就是翻1倍了。就是如果你放一个10%的回报的一个投资品种的话，7年就是翻1倍换句话说，就是你放里面，如果放里面1万块钱，它每年能给你产生10%，7年之后就是2万块。会忽略掉它。第二一个我想说的，就是年轻人，这一部分的知识结构，很多他们在学校里面有的学校会开一门课，但是那是一个非常入门的一个介绍了。但是孩子们他们基本上对这样的一种概念或者知识结构还是相对缺乏的。那么我们经常会看到孩子们有的时候，这都是我自己身边会发生的故事。比如说孩子们经常拿，爸爸妈妈给一张信用卡，然后拿信用卡去取现金，有一次我问他，我说你知不知道信用卡取现金是多少费用吗？是蛮高的大概是18%，好像是更高，那你可以很简单的去办一张这个 debit card 就可以了那就是他们对这些是没有概念。那这个其实对他们将来是很重要的，就是说我们都想让我们自己让我们的小孩能够提前实现这种所谓的叫财务自由那怎么去管理你自己的财富怎么去增长你自己的财富，能够在你的年轻的时候就建立起这样的知识结构，在这种value investment， 就是巴菲特推崇的这种叫价值投资里面，其中有一个很重要的一句话，就是说让时间做你的朋友，就是你去找到一个优质的投资的产品或者说是资产，然后呢 be patient， 然后呢时间是站在你这一面的，你给他时间，他会给你一个非常惊喜的回报所以如果你在年轻的时候就开始做这样的事情的话，其实他们将来的财富的积累要远远超过我们坦白讲，像我大概可能是30多岁之后才开始慢慢的去做这些工作尤其是我读了这个商学院之后开始这些概念开始更加的系统一些但是我们希望我们的孩子能够比我们更加的早比我们更加的这种早一点能够介入建立这样的知识结构这个是我想说的具体的内容呢Janine 的 Finance 和 Investment 的课刚才他也讲了其中最重要的一个重点就是一个是建立刚才孩子们他讲到了那几个知识结构，包括我就不重复了什么是 money， 什么是 credit， 什么是 budget， 什么是wealth management， 什么是 investment 等等然后其中的一个目标是我们的沃顿因为我们今年下半年会组这个沃顿的竞赛队嘛所以就是沃顿的竞赛那伊莎贝拉的 Deca 的课标准的是 Deca 的竞赛3级Regional Provincial 和 International 那 Isabella 自己她是赢了这个 international 的这个我们叫 ICDC 了啊 ，ICDC 是她那个 team event 的这个第3名那是一个全球的啊，是一个全球的一个竞赛，所以你要通过 regional 出现进入 provincial 出现才能进入到这个 international 这个是这2门课 Diamond Challenge 是明年年初的比赛，所以我们要到今年的下半年才会考虑这个 Diamond Challenge 的组队的问题那 Janine, can you maybe just stop the screen sharing and then I'll share mine really quickly. Thank you. Okay, so this is a cryptocurrency. So I'll try to be doing a bit of bilingual on this one. Just really quickly, we'll try to get to Q&A at 8. So, all right, crypto, why Bitcoin, blockchain transactions, what is altcoin, the NFT, DeFi, and metaverse. Just quickly touch base on, a few concepts, right? What is money? What is money? The definition I like the most is the one that Gary Gensler, when he taught at MIT, he gave the definition on money, right? If you know who Gary Gensler is, he used to be an MIT professor, right? Sloan Business School. He's currently the SEC chair, right? 美国证监会主席了SEC 是美国证监会主席。那他在 MIT 当教授的时候，他讲了一门课，实际上就是讲数字货币就是讲比特币、数字货币，然后区块链。在那节课当中，他给这个钱下了一个定义或者叫货币它的定义是 social and economic consensus， 就是一个社会和经济的共识所以我们去想，我们用的加币也好，美元也好，人民币也好，还是这个其他的货币也好，其实它都是一个社会和经济上的一个共识我拿一个100块加币，我走进这个 Shopper Drug Mart， 我去买一个什么东西，它会 recognize 我这100块所以就大家对这100块钱这一个纸币是有一个共识的，是有一个共识。当然这个共识是怎么建立的，我们今天没有办法展开讲简单一句话，它是由国家的这种公权力来建立起来的，比如说国家机器包括银行系统，包括其他的司法系统等等建立起来的这样一个共识。那数字货币是完全不一样的，数字货币它的共识不是靠国家机器，不是靠刚才我们说的这些公权力，它更多的是靠一种我个人的理解是它是靠一个数学模型它是 mathematic algorithm right behind the scenes， 这个是 cryptocurrency那我们会在这门课上会讲什么是 Bitcoin， 什么是 Big Blockchain， 它的背后的科技是什么，它背后的 technology 是什么这个我本来是我们上次专门有一个讲座是讲这个 crypto 的这里面其实我讲到这是Afghanistan大家看到就是大家在排队银行门口排队来取钱所以说如果你相信你说我相信现在的所有的这些金融系统，然后那它可能会出现一些极端的情况的时候出现一些问题，就是你取不到钱然后这个叫什么 cash squeeze就是现金会被这个在很短的时间内拿不到那么多现金等等那在 crypto 这个领域里面就不会出现这样的问题因为它是 decentralized， 然后呢它的背后实际上是一个密码学，实际上是一个数学算法So this is a Bitcoin white paper. Bitcoin white paper, basically they, outline how a Bitcoin transaction works on the blockchain, right? You have a private key and then you have a, public key, and then you sign the transaction to verify that this Bitcoin is owned by the next owner, right? There's a movie I recommend if you haven't watched, maybe you want to go find it, called Imitation Game. This is a real story. This is a real story. The movie is talking about Alan Turing. He's a scientist, right? Working for UK during World War II, and he basically decrypted the German communications, right? So this is the machine that he used to decrypted the German transactions. 那这个人是图灵了，就是大家都知道计算机的模型实际上就是他建立的啊，这个我们不多说了，因为我想说的是什么，就是在二次世界大战的时候，那个时候我们的所谓的密码学呢，它是用的是一种就是我如果拍0011啊，你知道可能这个001是苹果的意思，那我反过来说，我说苹果，你会说0011啊，所以实际上它是一个two ways， 就是there's a code and then there's a meaning, right, to the code, and then if you give me the code and I know the meaning, if you give me the word, I know the code, right? But in the crypto, it's a one way, right? If you get private key, you can use your private key to get your public key, but never the other way around, right? If you have a public key, you can never get your private key. So that's how crypto works. We're gonna talk about this in our class in terms of how the crypto encryption works, right? And then so I'm gonna skip all this, and then we're gonna talk about the altcoin, right? I made a list on all the altcoins that I think there are some potentials, right? And then we're going to talk about all the altcoins, right? Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, so on and so forth, right? One of the altcoins I want to just highlight here. It's called Shiba Inu. If you guys know this altcoin, you see this number, so 23 million %. This is how much the price has jumped last year, right? For this specific coin. We will also be talking about NFT, right? If you guys know Zhou, I think his English name 周杰伦了那他发行了一个，这是他的一个 NFT 的一个发行啊，叫 Panta Beer， 他发行的时候大概是0.28个 Ethereum 啊，大概好像是100-200美元啊，那后来当然这个现在好像是46000块啊，大家如果看的话是这个14 Ethereum， 所以这是 NFT。那 NFT 是什么？这个我们也会在课上去讲啊它实际上是一个认证机制那我们今天没有时间了，所以我们不能把它展开讲。Metaverse 所谓的元宇宙到底元宇宙是什么？它是一个 virtual space， 然后到底在元宇宙当中有什么样的 use case 这个可能我们会在课上也会讲。然后 DeFi 什么叫 decentralized finance 那这个和我们现在我们大家都比较很习惯的这种traditional 的这种 finance 比如我们的银行等等有什么区别？到底区别在哪里它的好处在哪里？这个我们也会在 crypto 这门课上会讲就是 decentralized finance 最后我想说一点就是给大家一个参考。我觉得为什么可以大家考虑让孩子去接触一些 cryptocurrency 当然我个人我是一个对创新技术非常有兴趣和热情那我觉得孩子们他们应该去多接触一些新知识、新的科技、新的思想 这个是我觉得从孩子的长远的角度来讲，会给他们带来很多的这种价值啊。那从功利的角度上来讲，如果我们只是看我们现在的最近的这3年或者5年最重要的 big mind our middle school or high school students, right? So if you want to be more competitive for your university application, right? So you want to, stand out, right? From the crowd, from the competition, right? Well, how do you make yourself stand out, right? There might be one thing you could consider is to, try to do something that, less people are doing, right? If, everybody is doing the same thing, it's hard or less chance for you to stand out, right? But if the battlefield is less crowded, right? There are few competitions, and there's more chance for you to be standing out. I think cryptocurrency is one of those fields because it's so new. Because it's not that many people recognizing this technology or what do you want to call it, right? I call it technology. Some people call innovative finance. Because this is so new, less people recognizing the this industry, this new industry or new technology, you get a better chance to stand out, right? If you try to engage in this field. 所以这是我想说的，就是说你的大学申请当中，大学申请我们都知道很重要，就是说如果想让你自己在申请当中变得更加的有竞争力，可能会一些我们叫另辟蹊径吧，就是说做一些事情竞争比较少，竞争会有更大的这种机会，可以让你自己能够在竞争当中脱颖而出啊。这个当然就是像 crypto 啊，一些这种比较新的一些科技或新的思维，新的创意，其实我觉得都符合刚才我说的这个特点，好吗？这个是关于cryptocurrency 的我觉得我们今天的所有的想要做的这种介绍Janelle, Isabella, 然后我自己 I think that's pretty much everything we want to present, right, to you guys. So now let's has any question in the chat, or maybe just turn on your microphone and ask your questions. 大家如果有什么问题，可以直接写在我们的这个对话框里或者是直接打开话筒直接问也可以，好吗？刚才我看到好像有一个举手。There's someone there raised a hand.
Yeah, I raised my hand, but Isabella already answered my question for me.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
When does registration start?
When to start register the finance class? Right now. I mean, it has started. The registration has started, month. The class will start the actual this coming week, this coming weekend. So if you wanna, register for the finance class, we highly recommend that you do that right now. OK， 就是说，如果因为我们的 finance class， 我们的 finance 的春季课程马上就要开始了所以如果你想注册的话，就对，最好早，就现在就要做了如果你不确定孩子会不会喜欢做试课。 这样的话让孩子去试一下，然后感觉一下，如果他喜欢的话就可以继续，好不好？Medicine question, this is more for you, Janelle. Investment 的课有没有作业 ？Okay, are there any homeworks for the finance and investment class?
Yes, there definitely are. It usually takes the form of doing research on the certain concept that we will learn in class the next day or the next week rather. So this is like, what is an investment portfolio? What is inflation? What are the different kinds of inflation? What is hyperinflation? What is deflation? We also have a group assignment where we study different countries that have experienced hyperinflation to get a gauge of what happened and to see like what they might have been able to do to curtail that or prevent that from happening. So these are the different things that we do. And then in class, we also have activities where you are able to earn more sats throughout the class.
Yeah. And there's a follow-up question from you. I can't find the form on the website. You can use this website. I just type it up in the chat, linky-online.com. Just go on the website. I'm not sure whether you have an account in there or not. If you don't, just create you can quickly create an account, right? Just by using your email. So once you've done that, you can sign up for any courses, right? Including the trial classes. 好吗？就是我们的这个课程管理系统，你可以在系统上直接做一个账户注册然后就非常简单，就用你的 email 就可以注册了然后你就可以选择你想要报名的课程，比如说 finance investment， 这是你想要报名的，你就选这个课就可以报名如果你不确定的话，你可以先选择这个试听这个都在这个网站上。如果 OK 你还有任何的问题，比如说使用这个网站，你可以直接打电话给我们，好吗 ？So you're always welcome to call us, right? So I'll leave the number down below here. Always give us a call if there are any questions. All right. Okay, there's a question from Julie. I think this is for you, Isabella. I'll do a quick translate. If the students have not learned or practiced debate or public speaking before, and students currently in grade 8, can he or she start doing Deca?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for the translation. My Chinese is not that good. Yeah, I cannot read. Anyways, yes, you can. It's highly recommended that you join Deca Level 1 then, and that as long as the student is open to participating, because it's an online class, it's difficult when students don't unmute themselves and never speak up because there's nothing teachers can do, if that makes sense, because we can't force someone to unmute themselves. So that would be the only thing I would say, as long as the student is willing to speak up and participate, it's definitely okay, and they should definitely join Deca Level 1.
Yeah. 就是这个刚才伊泽贝拉有讲了，其实就是它是可以的。Deca 不一定要有 debate 或者 public speaking 的经验才能参加 Deca 那我们之前其实有讲过，就是所有的这种人文语言类的课程的竞赛呢，他们的结构呢有一个共同的结构，就是他们有一层这是我自己总结的叫 presentation layer。那 presentation layer 它可以是书面的话是 writing 伊泽贝拉也讲了，就是 Deca 里面实际上是有 writing 的 option， 就如果你选那个 writing 以外是有的那当然我们主要是做这个 oral presentation， 所以就是主要是 public speaking。那下面一层 layer 呢，实际上是你的 content， 或者我们叫 knowledge base， 就是你的课程，就是你的知识结构所以就是你去搭建知识结构，搭建不同的知识结构，比如说 Deca 它就是商科类的，那 debate 可能就是它的知识结构跟 Deca 的知识结构是不一样的，所以他们两个是一个平行的关系不一定是这种要 prerequisite 先有 debate 才能有 Deca 啊，不是这样的关系啊，他们更多的是一个平行的关系啊。OK， there's a question from iPhone iPhone OK， 暑假的 finance 和春季 finance 关 OK， the finance program in spring and in summer, the question is about whether the content for the core program will be the same for spring and summer. Okay, I'll quickly take on this one. Janelle, you can feel free to jump in. My my response to this one is we haven't started planning for summer yet, right? So I think we're gonna offer some entry-level finance and investment class for summer, right? We are also going to offer a advanced program for the finance and investment in summer as well, right? But as I just mentioned, we haven't started planning for the summer schedule yet, right? So I cannot guarantee you which one will be offered, which one will not be offered, right? For the summer. 我用中文讲一下，就是暑假的课程呢，因为我们现在还没有开始做暑假的整个的课程计划所以呢，我现在不能给您一个这个绝对准确的答案，说我们暑假会开哪个班，不会开哪个班但是这个金融投资班我们一定会开但金融投资班到底是开到哪一个 level 我现在不能给您一个特别肯定，因为我们现在还没有开始做暑期计划那大概率呢，就是说我们有可能会开一个入门级别的，也有可能会开一个这个高级别的。那高级别的最主要的可能还是针对这个沃顿商赛做一些赛前的这个培训赛前的准备。Janelle, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, for sure. So all encompassing, we plan to obviously continue to develop this program because we know that this is the beginners phase. So like what Henry said, we don't really know yet what is to come, but moving forward, you can expect for there to be advanced levels as we continue on. So there was a question that was privately asked to me, but I'm gonna publicly say it in case anyone has a similar question. And that question was, for finance, are you gonna teach us how to find the value of a company? So in finance, we are going to lightly touch this subject because the point for this course is to give you the all-encompassing look at everything. And we need to do those preliminary stages first for you to truly understand what then goes on in the investment side. For the Wharton competition, this is where we really go deeper into understanding how to value a company. Now, of course, I also should say I'm not a financial advisor, but I do have resources. And so the follow-up question to that was, how can you start to begin to study how to do that? And so you would have seen in the chat, I said there are videos that are really helpful. And of course, with everything, you want to make sure that you do a great amount of research. Don't just take one source and run with it, but rather to see multiple, read multiple articles, videos, podcasts, and books. So really starting off with the understanding the intrinsic value of a company is helpful. But I also did recommend the books, The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham and Dando Investor by, what did I say it was by Monish Pabrik. I saw there, I think there was another question in the chat, but I also see that Ying has their hand up. So Ying, if you want to go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, 我 我用中文多说一句哈，因为我觉得我们的 finance investment 这个课呢，我们一定会讲所谓的我们叫 company analysis，或者我们叫公司分析了，就是说我们希望给大家或者说训练我们的孩子一种这种理性的，然后呢这种有结构性的一种怎么去分析一个公司啊，怎么去分析一个我们叫 business 比如说给大家举个例子，2天前 Google 这个发布这个财报之后quarterly report， 那 Google 的 share 大涨那昨天 Facebook 发布这个财报之后Facebook 的股价大跌今天跌了一个历史记录，就是历史上从来没有过任何一家公司在1天内市值跌到了我忘记是多少了，好像2300亿，好像是如果我没记错的话。那这个是一个，就是我们有的时候经常在外面是看，如果大家是看新闻的话，因为新闻会给你很多这种叫 narrative 就是为什么新闻是所有的 news， 因为他希望吸引这个读者的，所以他一定会有一个所谓的解释。那作为我们来讲，作为我们如果是受过训练的这样的一种理性的投资人来说那你应该有你自己的想法你应该有你自己的解释而不是只是听新闻的解释，因为新闻很多东西其实它是从它的那个吸引读者的角度就像我每天都看 news， 我每天都看这个 CNBC 的 news， 每天都会有各种各样的文章，几乎每天都有，比如说这2只公司是你一定要在 TFSA 里面要 hold 的公司，然后说这2只是2022年给你最高回报的公司，所以如果你要看这些 news 的话我不认为你能够把你自己的这个所谓的投资管理好所以我们也希望能够给孩子这样的一种信息就是他们应该去学会独立思考，一定要学会独立思考，而不是我觉得投资是一个孤独的工作投资不能够从众的就是别人讲什么你就去做什么，这个是不行就是你一定要很深刻的去了解你要做什么，你要投什么我们叫 conviction， 就是你对某一个公司的这种 conviction一定是建立在你自己的 research 的基础上那这个我们是一定要在课上会讲。那当然沃顿商学院的 investment competition 它最强调其实就是刚才我们说的，它不是强调你选的这个公司最后是不是在股票市场上你赚了多少钱，它不是看最后的那个数字结果，它真正看的是你为什么要选这间公司它要看你的 report， 因为我们的沃顿商赛投资竞赛，你要给他提交 report， 你在 report 当中你要写我为什么投 Facebook、Google 什么Amazon， 甭管哪一间了你的 rationale 是什么，你的 logic 是什么这个是你要建立在你的 analysis 的基础上，好吗？OK， Jason， question for Isabella. Can a grade 6 student take the Deca program?
Henry, I was actually hoping you could answer this one. I don't really, it doesn't, I don't know.
I think you can try. I think you can maybe sign up or try out for your 6th grader. Typically, we recommend students maybe they can start taking Deca in grade 7, right, or grade 8, right? But there are differences, right, between one individual to another individual, right? My answer for this one would be, the best way to do this is go do a trial and see how that goes, right? Whether she or he can follow along, and then on the actual class, Isabella can give more more advices, right?
Yeah, I do want to emphasize though that like DECA is a high school competition. So like you're not able to compete with DECA if you're not in high school. That being said though, we do have like I do often have grade 7s and grade 8s and they just, join early and they learn and these business concepts and these skills are still helpful, but like you won't be able to compete as a DECA competitor unless you're in high school.
Okay, that's why the question I'll translate, right? My kid is in grade 7. He or she likes debate or public speaking, and is also interested in investment. Question is, do you think between DECA and finance, which one is more suitable to a seventh grader? I think you should maybe join the as Isabella mentioned, DECA is more for high school, right? High schooler. To give you a quick information, the Wharton competition, Wharton investment competition is also for high school, right? I think you could try both and see which one the kid likes more, right? But if you ask me for my opinion, I would say finance and investment, right? Just because of finance literacy can be easier comprehended by a grade 7 student, right? Yeah, and DECA can come maybe next year, right? So that would be my recommendation. Okay, Janelle, you answer some questions about YouTube videos. Yeah. Okay, there's a question from Sarah. Send it to me in private. I want to ask about the environmental impact that crypto and NFT has, and also what level would a grade 11 student with no DECA experience take? And are the beginner finance class directed to grade 8 and below? Yeah, I mean, there are 3 questions in this one, I think. The environmental impact, cryptocurrency and NFT, yeah, there are for sure, especially on Bitcoin, right? But I think we are looking things more looking forward, right? Instead of looking backward, right? If you look backward, Bitcoin mining, they used to use a lot of, they call dirty energy, right? Like a fossil energy or coals and that kind of energy generation. But nowadays, it's right now, and also more so beyond, going forward in the future. I think the clean energy has started come in and play and will play a much bigger role in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency mining, right? That's one thing. And the other thing is, if you look at the whole crypto landscape, right? Right now, there's only a number of cryptos that are still using POW, right? Which is which is the mining, right? Use the mining to mine the new crypto. The vast majority of the current cryptos are using POS, right? Which is not to use any mining, right? So we can get into that, what's POW, what's POS. But in short, POS doesn't use mining, right? There's no energy. I wouldn't say no energy, but very, very little energy consumed in POS, right? Again, we have to look forward, not going backward, right? Looking forward, I think it would be much less energy consumed in the crypto space, and even that little energy consumed going forward, it will be more cleaner energy, in this space. Your second question, what level would a grade 11 student with no Deca experience to start? Isabella, this is maybe more for you, but I think level 1, right?
Yes, but I would say there have been successes with older students joining Deca Level 2 straight away, especially if they're good at public speaking. So I think that's a big component, and I would recommend like trying out the class, and then during like the 10-minute break time, we can like go into a breakout room and talk about it. But depends on public speaking ability.
Yeah. The last piece of the question is, are the beginner finance classes directed to grade 8 and below? Yes, they are. The grade 8 and below can join the finance class, right? However, as I just mentioned, the Wharton competition is for high schoolers, right? If your kid is currently in grade 8, then they would be able to join the Wharton competition at the, after September, because in September they are turning grade 9, right? So they would be eligible to join Wharton if they are currently in grade 8, right? Okay, last question from Anne. 我想问一下，金融投资课是否按照学生的认知程度来分班？因为有的学生已经学了经济课程了，有的学生学了经济 AP 经济。如果夏季也有课程，是否可以从6月份开始？那是 AP 考试正好结束，孩子们还有更多时间。请问你们学校有组队参加这个比赛吗？成绩如何 ？Yeah, OK， 我先用中文回答哈，然后我稍微用 OK, I'll do a bit of Mandarin Chinese and then I'll do a quick translation. I'll translate the question first. All right. The question is, if you have only one finance and investment class, right? Do you try to divide or separate the students based on their knowledge, right? Based on their past experience. So that's the first question. The second question is, would that be better if we start a finance investment in June? Because by the time the student will finish all the AP exams, so it might be easier for them because they got more time, right? During the summer. The last question is, have you ever sent any teams to Wharton competition? How did that go? So that will be the 3 questions, right? So I'll take them. I'll maybe try to answer some of them, and maybe Janelle, you can jump in, right? I think we will try to group the students in the finance and the investment class based on their knowledge and past experience, right? So Janelle will do that. I think we had a discussion with Janelle for this one. That's not a problem. The second question, would that be easier or better to start the investment and finance in June or in summer? Well, that really depends, right? It really depends on your personal schedule, right? To me, I wouldn't wait. To me, I will start, it's all about time management, right? If you could manage your time effectively, I think you can start right now. Because you never know. In summer, there might be other things to do. There may be other commitments, and we might have another we call crash course for the summer, just to prepare the students for the Wharton competition, right? Just for your information, Wharton competition starts in September or October. So really there will be no time, once, September is there, right? To, do the preparation, right? So my recommendation would be to, not to delay it, right? Try to maybe do it right now, if you can manage your time, right? the last one, yes, we have sent teams to Wharton. We have sent teams to Wharton. We sent 4 teams to Wharton last year. I mean, yeah, last year, September. The actual competition started, you know, Janil, you can update me on this one in terms of the timeline. I think it started in September or October, right? The competition goes for 3 months, right? I think we got some results, right? Our teams they have done pretty well, especially the two top teams, right? We sent 4 teams. 2 of them they did really well. I think they did some fantastic work, and yeah, we can keep you updated in terms of the final results. Yeah, Janil, anything you want to add?
Yes. So the first question was like the differentiation between skill level, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for that, it is going to be advanced, right? So the concepts that we teach is in preparation for Wharton, but that doesn't mean that a student who is in grade 8 or below, or more so 7 and below, won't be able to keep up with the content. The way that I'm going to explain it, it will make sense to everyone. So I wouldn't worry about that. I think that if your child especially is interested and you believe that they will pay attention in class, do their homework, ask questions, then they will do well. The second question was around the summer and the fall. What I will say about that is that the summer semester moves very quickly. Whereas right now we have 16 weeks to make our way through the content. So with that being said, really keep that in mind and consider what might work best for you. And the third thing is that this was our first time participating in Wharton, which means that there was a lot that we learned simply based on the fact that we had a lack of experience, to which I'm really excited about this year, this time around, because there's so much that we learned that we plan to apply to our next set of teams that we send in this fall. And what I'll also say to that is that the people who showed up and did the work, I believe we might even have some in this room right now, learned a lot about how to invest. So the finance course is more so theory-based to understand the fundamentals, right? The foundational layer. Wharton really allows you to apply all of those skills. Yeah, great question.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. 因为这个问题是用中文问的，我用中文再简单的再帮你再回答一下哈，就是那个分班的问题，对，我们会根据学生的程度了，包括过去的经验哈，指定这个其实我们在做课程设计的时候，我们有谈到这个问题啊，他会根据孩子的情况会做一些分组啊，在这个班里面，然后是不是一定要等到夏天？其实我个人。我从来对于所有的这个建议呢，就是说，如果你可以管理你的时间的话，就尽量早一点啊，因为夏天其实会有很多夏天的安排了，包括我们夏天可能会有一个这种密集的这种赛前的一些培训了，那个时候可能如果你之前没有上过的话，可能你不能马上就进入到那个刚才我们说的那个叫 crash course 那个班啊，所以如果可以。把自己的时间管理好的话，其实我觉得孩子们他们是可以把时间管理得更好然后这个我们去年是有开始组队就参加沃顿比赛了所以其实那个我们有4个队，有2个队其实表现得很好然后这个里面其实我们有很多总结了。包括孩子们自己的这个体验了，刚才指定有讲，就是他们自己觉得通过这个比赛， 学到了很多东西，就是而且是像我觉得沃顿这样的学校哈，就是所谓的这个世界前3名的商学院，他们组织这个比赛是非常有板有眼的，就是它整个的比赛，它的设计，它的整个的执行，着眼点就是让孩子们能够从参加比赛当中真正能够学到可以在日常生活当中用到的这些知识啊，所以我觉得对这些孩子来说是一个非常有价值的这样的一个经历啊，好吗？OK 呀，Madison 问说沃顿是不是要9年级才可以参加？对的，就是如果你要参加沃顿的比赛要9年级和9年级以上啊，因为沃顿的定义非常清楚，就是 high school student。Okay, any other questions? I think we can wrap it up here. If you guys have any other questions, yeah, just feel free to reach out, right? I'll type the phone number one more time. You know, you can also reach out by email to us, right? We're more than happy to help you, you know, share more information with you, right? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Isabella. Thank you, Janelle. Thank you, everyone. So we're gonna end here. Hope everyone have a great night. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.